through the different stages that they did, they kept on losing people
Mm-hmm.
in the study. And a lot of it was from pressure from the Japanese government to have them get out of the study. Okay, there was a lot of manipulation. There was a lot of stuff going on over in Japan. They had the State Secrets Act. Um, so a lot of this information is manipulated. A lot of things happen that don't show up on a piece of paper or a study, or so they lost people, but they still found much more issues than that, even what they predicted after the subsequent explosions. So on the right side is what they suspected after Fukushima exploded. It released what they said on paper and they calculated it. And this is the amount of people that should have had an issue. But we see on the in the middle column
Uh-huh.
that reality doesn't match what predictions and what it does on paper. This is what I was talking about, that reality doesn't match up with what they said was going to happen. So that's the important part about this study.
Oh, I see.
Right. What
Mm-hmm.
they suspected was going to happen versus what actually happened.
Wow, that's interesting.
And
That's
this
a
is out
there
of
could be
less
a
than, sorry.
no, I said I could see a deep dive into these studies and statistics. I haven't kept up with them, but they are
Right.
probably
Right.
pretty fascinating. Mm,
Right.
mm, mm, mm. All right, so where are we going?
Well, um, I could talk about Fukushima a little bit more. Let's get down to the what occurred. Okay, there was three separate hydrogen gas explosions in three separate units. Okay, Unit one, the explosion occurred in the upper portion of the building where the crane is located. Okay, the upper part of the structure is an open area and it's basically just ribs with sheet metal on the side of it. It's not really hardened or anything. Okay, so that's what blew up, was the hydrogen gas meeting oxygen in the outside air, and then it reacted and had an explosion.
Which is shown in the video you had sent me to play
Right,
if we were
right,
going to do an intermission.
right. Unit 2, it is said to have an explosion more at the base of the reactor vessel itself,
Mm-hmm.
and it caused damage. Underneath Unit 2 is the highest ever recorded measurement of radioactivity ever on the face of the planet. Is Unit 2
Unit 2.
in Fukushima, up
Mm-mm-mm.
underneath the reactor. That's where
Mm.
they've highest readings.
It's terrifying.
So then Unit 3, that's the big explosion you normally see everybody show. That originated inside the reactor vessel itself. It was focused upward, and if you look at these designs of the Mark I reactor, it's basically just a cannon turned up on end.
All right.
So that's why you see that shot up, because it was focused upwards. It blew out the side of the building. Um, there's some people like Dana Durnford that say that the fuel pools blew up, that it spread all these uh, rods everywhere, and that just isn't true. I have to make sure that is known. The fuel pools still exist. We have pictures of them. We have pictures of the fuel inside of it. So that has to be known. If anybody was questioning that, I have pictures of that over on my channel. If that's a
All right.
question in your mind, let me dispel that worry. There was not spent
Okay.
fuel blowing up. Okay. Unit 4, it had an explosion, but only, it is said, I don't know this for sure, but it is said that the exhaust pipe of Unit 3 and Unit 4, they shared. So the hydrogen gas that was coming from Unit 3 traveled through that exhaust pipe over to Unit 4. And that's why it had an explosion, because they had all the fuel out of that reactor because they were refueling it.
Oh,
So all the
okay.
fuel was in the spent fuel pools.
Yeah.
So it's important to note that in Unit 3, it is not containing anything. All containment is lost. The reactor vessel is cracked, the building is cracked, and they are losing on estimates of 300 tons of radioactive water per day from this site. They are pumping water into the reactors and they are sucking it out and putting it in those tanks that are back there. If you've ever seen that site, they got 1,000 tanks on that site of contaminated water. And each tank holds like 1.1 million liters of contaminated water.
Okay.
That water, they're actually running it through what's known as the ALPS treatment, and it's meant to remove these radionuclides. I've actually made a spreadsheet that I have a video on that shows the contents based on TEPCO's numbers and what possibly can still be contained in those tanks. I don't know if you've heard they're trying to dump all this water
Yeah.
into the
Oh,
ocean.
yeah. I
Right,
have heard. Uh-huh.
right.
I have read about this.
So you'll hear that,
Ugh.
it's all clean except for tritium. It's all clean except for tritium, right? There's the only thing in this water is tritium, which is not true. Even the TEPCO information tells you that all 65 plus of the radionuclides they are searching for to remove from that water, none of them are at zero. None.
Mm-mm.
So there
No,
is
I wouldn't think
some
they would.
radioactivity from those radionuclides in that water.
Okay. I do
Okay.
have a question that I've seen in the chat, and it was
Okay.
about the earthquake that occurred at Fukushima, and did that
Okay.
damage the core? People are saying it didn't,
It's possible.
that it did not in an
It's
observable way.
possible. Uh, there's earthquake ratings for these sites. And I don't know this for certain. I heard this through Kevin Blanche, but I believe the spent fuel pools can really only handle a 7.4 or something around there, that lines. Um, I would be more worried about the spent fuel than I would be the reactor itself.
Okay.
This is really thick metal. This is really thick concrete.
Mm-hmm.
This is really hardened stuff for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So it could have. I don't know. I haven't been there. I haven't been underneath the reactors. I can't tell you one way or the other. But we do know it's damaged from the explosion, and it is leaking water every day for the past 11 years.
All right.
And
11 years.
remember me talking about the water solubility issue? Well, a lot of those radionuclides are water soluble. They're bonded to the water and they will flow with that water wherever that water goes. We talked about acidic conditions. Well, even what is it? Glycerine. Glycerine will actually cause the acidity of an acid to increase in strength.
The acidity of an acid to
Increase in strength.
increase in strength, the acidity.
Yes,
Okay.
glycerin.
Gotcha.
Right.
I gotcha.
So that's mainly the issues. I show that in that water there's upwards of 67 billion becquerels left in that water. And we really didn't talk too much about the measurements, becquerels. That's 1 disintegration per second is a becquerel.
A becquerel.